Hello and welcome to Audible River. I'm Alan Rice, and I am very happy to be here with Matt Porter, founder of Healing Vibrations in Butte Valley, California. And good morning, Matt. It's good to be with you.
Good morning, Alan. Thank you for having me.
So, Matt, what are we, Healing Vibrations? Tell me what you do here.
Yeah, basically we started out doing sound baths out of a cave on our property. And then last year we eventually moved to mostly doing group sound baths and particularly like to introduce people to new modalities and new things. So starting with sound baths and introducing people to maybe yoga or Reiki or other things, just kind of broadening people's horizons a little.
Okay, so we're standing on your property right now. We're in your beautiful front yard, and this is a very amazing place here in California. And so this is where people would come to do the sound baths with you, right?
Yes, correct. And I think that's kind of part of the magic. People, they feel good just being here. I think it's part of the energy of the property is kind of what I think has helped make us successful. So,
yeah. Okay, you want to show me around what you do here?
Let's take a walk.
Let's do.
So people would usually be, parking over here for the events. This last year we had a family reunion and we had a little over 100 people. So that was a really fun way for us to figure out how many cars can we get here, how big can events get, without having the pressure of the general public. So that was really, really awesome. So we'll head this way to the right.
So how long have you been doing this here, Matt?
We've been doing sound baths here for about 3 years now. Started off as mostly word of mouth. People who had been here or friends of friends, family, things like that. I was new. I'm actually fairly new into this world. 5 years ago, I was selling houses. And so this is a bit of a switch for me.
Selling houses. So now, are you doing this full time now?
Yeah, it doesn't take up full time hours, but it's predominantly my focus. My focus is mostly on the property, my family, and the business.
Yeah, but sound baths. How did you come to this? Did you fall in love with it? Did you get into it by accident? Did you get a sound bath and say, "God, I got to do this"? How did that happen?
Yeah, it was something like that. So I doing real estate. Both my wife and I were in Southern California for our careers, and we kind of got caught up in the rat race of what that is. And so that became our life for about 8-9 years. We thoroughly enjoyed it, going out to dinner, living for vacations, things like that. After about 7 years at my company, I was laid off, and it just kind of hit me. We had just had my son, and so it just kind of became, my whole world was just a little bit rocked. And so we moved back home at the same time. Everything was kind of stirred up, and my life switched from 70, 80-hour work weeks to just kind of trying to rebuild myself. And that started with a little bit of meditation. And then eventually, after a couple of years, a friend introduced me to a gentleman, Bill Gokenauer, out of Chico. He does massage and energy work. And I would say from there, it just kind of all started to take shape.
So would you say that you've maybe got a point in your life where to me, this sounds like a balance of inner life with outer life. So am I on track with that?
Yeah, my life was way out of balance. I think I had realized when we moved here that I had never actually figured out what I wanted out of life. I had kind of signed up for what felt like we were all supposed to sign up for, and I found myself achieving things that I didn't really imagine I would achieve. I found myself fairly successful in Southern California, and I never really dreamed of that kind of success, but I also didn't find myself all that happy. And so I had to kind of switch tracks and focus less on the outer and more on the inner.
So was this I'm curious about the transition of you going from selling houses to now doing sound baths. Was there a leap of faith involved in doing that? Was there kind of like a little bit of pressure? Am I doing the right thing, or was it like I'm just going to do this? Tell me how that worked for you.
A lot and all of that. So in seeing Bill weekly in Chico, mostly what he would do for me is he would spend 30 or so minutes just kind of talking to me and helping me maybe feel seen and feel like safe in that environment. And then from there, he would do energy work, and that would oftentimes entail using sound or frequencies, crystals, scents, things like that. And this was all fairly new to me at this point, but I could feel things moving in my body, and I knew it was effective in some way. And so from there, he basically told me anything that he did for me, I could do for myself. And he would encourage me to go out and try different things. And through that, I went out and I bought a crystal bowl. And I don't have a musical background or anything like that, but when I would play the crystal bowl, we had 2 dogs. They would always come into the room, and my child was 2 or 3 at the time, and he would also come near. And I figured anything that, dogs and kids are into is probably not bad for you.
If the dogs and kids like it, that's a good indicator that there's something nice there.
Exactly. And so from there, I decided to buy a few more crystal bowls, and through Bill's guidance, it was, hey, play for your wife in the cave, try spending the night in the cave, and just kind of one experience after another, just kind of falling into this. And my wife has loved sound baths from the beginning, even when I wasn't all that good at them. But I played for some family, and they had a really deep healing experience, and that kind of triggered something in like a desire. I wanted to learn more from that. I wanted to know how that was effective, so that I could repeat it, because if someone can have some sort of healing experience and I can be a piece of that, I want to know how to do it again.
Excellent. So we've been taking a walk from your house down a hill, and we're standing near a creek right now. This beautiful sound there. And so you mentioned a cave.
Yes.
So are we heading to a cave?
Yes.
Now, I tell you what, this is an amazing thing to meet a man who has a cave. So, I mean, a real cave, not
Yes, yeah, an actual man cave. Yeah.
And so this cave has this is where you do sound baths. You take people there to do things individually because of the acoustics, or is there other things about the cave that you enjoy?
Well, in the beginning, I knew that it worked, right? And so I was very uncomfortable and insecure with all of this in the beginning. I didn't know what was working, how, or why. And so I kind of leaned on everything. And so I started buying a multitude of instruments, basically anything I felt comfortable playing. I would oftentimes play like frequency music for people in the cave, all just kind of really anything. When you go in there now, you lay on a biomat, so you're laying on 35 pounds of tourmaline and amethyst crystals that are there to help support ground you and also amplify the infrared coming out. You're in Mother Earth, you're right off of a creek. It's an incredibly supportive environment. And so I knew that something was working. I didn't know exactly what. And so I stayed in the cave for about 1.5 or 2 years. And I had a client who eventually convinced me that, I needed to be doing this on like full moons and new moons, and she would always be here and the other people would come too. And so that's what eventually moved me out into the meadow that you saw there.
Oh, okay. So, I see. So right here, we just walked past a setup that you have here in the meadow that's outside. And so sometimes you do sound, will you call it sound baths, or just you do the sound thing?
Yeah, exactly. I like to call them sound journeys because I use a multitude of instruments, and in my head there's a lot of highs and lows. And so for me, they tend to feel like journeys, opportunities for peace and calm, and also opportunities for deeper introspection. And so when I first started playing out here, after having the comfort of being in an enclosed cave, I felt very exposed, not having like a space in the middle of all of this grass. And so after the first year of sound baths, I decided I needed to build something. And so we'd had some redwood trees that died on the property a couple years ago, and my uncle turned them all into planks, and so they'd been sitting around. And so he helped me build that stage, and so we built that stage for me. And for whatever reason, I had it in my head it should be an octagon, and so I used grok to help me design the dimensions of the sand pit. And it was maybe unintentionally laborious, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. And so
it's beautiful. It's got it almost has like a sacred site kind of feeling to it. Where you've done some really nice balanced intention with the layout there.
Yes.
And so one of the things you mentioned earlier that you said you're not a musician, and I'm going to tell everyone that I did meet you at one of your public sound baths, and I was really fascinated with how you did this, and you really have a really good knack for blending these sounds together. Now, comparing this to like being a musician, this is raw sound. This is sound just for what sound does in an environment, and not telling a story so much, or not. It's not lyrical. This is, and I'm trying to get you maybe to say what this feels like to you when you're putting together this orchestration of sounds.
It oftentimes actually can feel like a story for me. Sometimes, oftentimes if I, sit in front of the tongue drum, it's like a song starts playing in my head, and that's just what I try to put out, and I'm not even always great at that, but it seems to me that through doing this over time now, as long as you don't do something to really interrupt people's experience, then whatever's supposed to happen kind of happens to some extent. And so
there's a great deal of spontaneity going on there.
Yeah, the group sound bass, there's less spontaneity. It tends to follow a bit more of a flow, but when we're individual in the cave, especially if there's just one person, it tends to be much more random, and that's just kind of me just trying to do whatever comes through. And so while I might have a place for the chimes in my group events, sometimes it's a very different spot when it's just one person in the cave, or sometimes I find myself standing somewhere playing the same thing for an extended period of time. I've even, done things that I would deem a mistake, dropping something or tinging something that ended up being a part of someone's experience. And so I kind of have had to let a lot of it go, like my control or my feeling bad about things. I can do that, of course, but to what end?
Yeah, just like me in this podcast. Just whatever happens, happens. So, but it sounds like an amazing creative outlet for you is what you're talking about. So when you're doing these what do we want to call them, sound events or whatever, that you're sort of operating from a creative space. Is that accurate?
Yeah, 100%. And it feels really good to let that flow. And I find myself, feeling stuck when that's not happening. If I'm not participating in sound bass or hosting events, it doesn't. There's like something missing from my life, that creative flow. And so sometimes I might post things to social media, but then in this winter, I have found, there's not a lot of opportunity for any of that. And so now I'm like bread making and knitting blankets. And so it's like, I have to let it go. I have to let it flow. And when I don't, it doesn't go well. So.
Yeah. Once you get a taste of those creative juices, your brain, your body just kind of thrives on it, right?
That's very true. Yeah, you end up with access to an energy that you feel when it's lacking.
So I want to ask you about the spiritual aspect of all of this. I mean, obviously we can talk about how sound can affect. I mean, there's science about sound waves affecting brain activity and different sort of healing activities in the body. But there seems to always be inexplicable kind of otherness experience. I mean, can you speak to that at all?
That's my favorite part. I think that's what kind of propels me. I grew up going to Catholic school. I went to Catholic school through my sophomore year of high school. So I had a heavy dose of church, and my wife grew up Adventist, and she went to Adventist school through her sophomore year of college. And so we both kind of came out of that a bit overwhelmed by that. And so I think just took a step back completely. And so we were missing the spiritual aspect of our lives for most of our time in San Diego. It just wasn't the focus. And we were taking a break, I think, from, trying to figure out what was real for us, And so this has been a huge part of that for me, and seeing other people's experiences and what other people are open to. I've just kind of learned to love all of it and not shut any of it out, I've never personally had a conversation with a dragon, but I have had people come out of the cave that certainly feel like they have, and I think that that's awesome. So
Well, I do know, like from my little bit of experience, like for instance with shamanism, sound is a very important part of creating. Oh, what do they call it? I mean, like alternate mental states, where you can whatever you want to call it. If you're imagining these things, or if you're connecting with something that's real on another plane, or whatever, it becomes an actual experience. But it can be stimulated by different types of sound. So I understand what you're talking about there.
And I think that that's fascinating, because I've personally kind of seek some of those states to not a lot of avail. And so the fact that I can be a part of that for some, I think it does, honestly, it drives me. It's probably like ego, but I don't know. I've heard another artist say it, providing what you can't feel is like, it's just like it is a drive.
Providing what you can't feel.
Yes.
Is that so? Are you talking about what you're doing for others?
Yeah, it feels really good to be a part of those experiences. I would love to go sit in a sound bath and have some of the experiences that have been described to me, but that's not for me. I get my experience elsewhere in life. Maybe sometimes looking at a flower, or just watching the stream for an hour. And so I'm not lacking spirituality in my life, but I think that there's something really cool about the experiences that people have.
Well, now you make up a really interesting point. So, so you're talking about a lot of the satisfaction of your work is your connection with other people's experience, and like building like a sense of connection with the people that you're working with. That is. I mean, to me, that feels like has its own spiritual, social kind of aspects. That's an important part of life.
And that's why I would do this for free, happily. And I have, my favorite client used to pay me in organic oranges and eggs from her daughter's house, and so, coming from the real estate background in that industry, it's been interesting to try and adopt some of the business mindset into this, and still not lose track of I would still just do this for free though at the end of the day. So,
right. Yeah, but you do have to
it's a little dangerous across
pay the bills. Oh, we're going to cross the creek on a little plank bridge here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, this looks like fun here. I'm not going to slip and fall down here. I'm going to step carefully. Here we're going to go across this nice little plank bridge. It's got a little bounce in it, and you can hear the creek here too. What a beautiful creek.
Yeah, we're a little tore up from the winter, but it's pretty good still. You watch your head through.
Okay, yeah, I don't want to bump my head here. Going under this little beam. Okay, so are we getting close to the cave?
Yeah, it's right here.
I see it now. There's the welcome. Oh, there, you got a welcome sign right there.
Yes, yeah. Purchase at the Healing Arts Fair in Chico. Yeah.
Oh my God, what a. So here the first thing you hear, of course, when you get here is this wonderful creek sound. Let me get closer here and get this. So talk about sound. This is a wonderful sound. Well, Matt. Okay. Oh my goodness. So how did this cave get here? This looks like did it form naturally? Or did somebody build this?
I've just always presumed someone was looking for gold, but I don't know. I wasn't told a lot. The very little bit that I've kind of gathered over time was that there used to be a water trucking company running off of this property, and so we walked across that very stout bridge, and so I guess that was for the trucking company. I always assumed that this was for like some sort of gold operation, but I think it was actually just to collect water. So I don't know. I still am just going to assume gold. Why else do you dig a hole in the earth, But yeah, I just found it this way. The previous owner had been here for over 25 years. He was not all that forthcoming with information, and so, yeah, who knows?
So this cave looks like it goes back about 30 feet. It's about, 7 to 8 feet wide. And probably about
just over 6 feet, so I can stand.
7 feet tall, or just a little.
Yeah, just over 6.
Just over 6 feet. Yeah. And Matt, you're a tall guy, so yeah, you're looks like if you're not careful, you could bump your head on some of those little.
We've taken down a couple of low spots because I was bumping my head for a couple of years.
So now that we're in the cave here, look, I think I want to. You want to just start by Giving me some of the sounds that you have here. Let's hear some of the things that you.
This has become people's favorites. These are called waves by Free Notes.
And they are. I'm going to describe them. They're like two triangles with a handle between them, made out of a flat sheet of metal.
It's a flat sheet of aluminum. I would describe. Yes, you're correct. And they kind of function as like giant tuning forks. And so where tuning forks, I would be directing vibration more usually toward people's ears or near their body, or maybe even on the body. This is like basically going to hit your whole, your whole body with the vibration that's going to create.
Okay. Let's hear it. I can feel that, like you're holding it about chest level. I feel it vibrating in my bones.
Yeah, this has become a favorite of people. They're very curious. It's a very simple instrument, but it's very powerful in the vibrations and sound that it creates.
So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, like, I'm trying to imagine the sound waves coming off of that, and because of the shape of it, it looks like it may have some accelerated manner of projecting sound waves. I don't know what the science is there, but it seems pretty powerful. Let's hear this one. Wow, that was amazing too. So you've got 3 different sizes of these.
Yeah, they actually make, I want to say they make 7 or 8, but I've just chosen a few.
That's amazing. Wow. Like they're like large handheld tuning forks, but yeah. If I saw you out on the road, I would think that you're like some kind of road worker, like trying to signal me with these, and I'd be trying to figure out, like, what are those things he's holding there?
And then we get into some fun stuff. I've played a couple of these together. Now, if you were into music theory or music, you probably would not play these notes together, or maybe you would discourage me from doing it. But I've been doing it, and people seem to enjoy it. So, I don't know. We'll see what you think.
I like it. I mean, I'm not a musician either, so I can't. I don't know how to criticize the harmonics there, but the tones together are quite interesting. I mean, it feels good.
It's just a lot of vibration, and it feels really good, like you're saying. Yeah, these are all very pure tones. They're intended to give off a single frequency, or in this case, they each give 2. But there are other instruments like this, like the chimes. They give off specific frequencies, and then you've got other instruments like metal bowls and gongs, which are going to give off a multitude of frequencies.
So I see your set of, you got these, they look like white quartz carved bowls back here. Yep. Now, these seem to be very popular with making sounds and doing sound stuff, and I've seen these in many places. But tell me about how you use these and how you collected them.
Again, these are going to be a pure frequency. They're just going to give off a single note generally. I started off with just one that's not in this cave. And then I purchased a set off of the internet. Sunreed is the name of the company. And I just opted for something that seemed fairly decent. In other words, expensive. What does that mean? I don't know. Does it matter? I don't know. And I kind of wish that I did, but I also don't really care. I know that these work well, and I know that they sound good. Maybe they sound good because the C is exactly a C. I'm not really sure. I just know that it sounds great, and people have great experiences in here.
Do you want to play some of these for
Sure,
me, or
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
we're going to
I'll
do
play
it however you want to do it, one at a time, all together? You just go for it, Matt. Do a thing. He's getting ready. Sitting in a little. He's got a mat here. Matt is sitting on a mat, and
a multitude of mallets. You can see here, I even have like 5 different mallets here, and most of these even have a twin. But over time, I have found that some bowls play better or like certain mallets, and then in some situations you're just looking for a softer tone, or in some situations you might be looking for a soft dinging, and that's going to happen better with these round balls. But conversely, the vibration from the crystal bowls emanates off of the sides, and it does a really good job of pretty much projecting outwards in 360 degrees, and so the sound fills up this cave really well.
I noticed that the sound in here is what I'm hearing on the recording here. It's a pure kind of sound, and I'm looking at the stone here it's rough.
Yes.
So what it's doing is it's not echoing really, but it's like the sound is getting absorbed and filling the area in a way that's really pure. So I'm seeing like why you love this cave.
Yeah, and then in addition, when you move, everything changes, and so obviously the crystal bowls aren't moving, but the chimes in particular are amazing to play in here, because holding them a foot apart just changes how the sound bounces off of the various pockets, and it can amplify or deaden the sound, and it's just really, really quite fun. Same thing with the ocean drum. Some sounds really can carry really interesting through here, and people actually think that I'm standing by their heads playing, most of the time, when in fact I'm oftentimes in the very back of the cave.
Because the sound is just that clean and pure, and will like fill the cave. It's like the sound, because the sound will just travel right through, very straight. Yeah.
I mean, I always tell people like there's really only one place for it to go, and it's out. And so what's not being absorbed by the cave walls is going out the entrance. And so I'm in the back, you're in the front. Pretty much what I hear, you hear, and pretty much what's washing over me is washing over you, and so it's fun.
What an amazing place. So what else would you like to show me here today? I want to hear everything.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I'll come back here and bang the gongs a little bit, and then I can bring some other instruments out. Let's see. You want to try it here? I can move this for you.
It's okay. I can step through. Okay. Matt's got his little private chamber in the back here, where he usually just does his little sound thing with people lying on he has the biomats. He's got 2 of them that are near the front of the cave. And so people can lay down, be very comfortable. And he's back here with his little load of instruments, his little one-man band.
We even have some different chimes. These are solfeggio, I think, chimes. But then we've got mostly the gongs.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the gongs can be a little. They can be a little rough on people. They can induce a lot of emotion and memory in people. The gongs have been used for their sounds in horror films for decades, and so even unconsciously they can like kind of trigger things in people. And so I generally go from the gongs to something nicer, and so usually like that's why the tongue drum is right here, because that will be my next choice.
So, Matt, this is really, really, really amazing here. So the ocean drum over here. Yeah, you're gonna.
Yeah, we'll go out and show the ocean drum and some of the chimes, and then the metal bowls too.
Okay.
Okay. This could be a little loud, so we'll see how it shows up. But.
And this is a like a round drum that's skinned on both sides, and inside it's got, what has it got, like pebbles or?
Yeah, like some BBs and some sand, a few different size things. A lot of these are actually made with clear heads, which are really nice because when you're just getting started, you can see where the balls are. After a while, you get a feel for where they are in here, and you can kind of learn to control them that way.
It's an amazing sound because it really does sound like the ocean. The waves, I love that.
Yeah, it is awesome. And it kind of doubles as like a really nice rain stick that can run forever. If you could just keep the beads running in a circle, then it really never ends. This rain stick is great, but it lasts about a minute and a half.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That is really beautiful.
Really nice instrument.
And I see you've got some these metal bowls. These are I'm familiar with them as you use them in Tibetan meditation. They have different sort of practices, and let's hear what these sound like. You got like 4 different sizes here.
Yeah, I've actually got that one down there.
Oh, and I see a big one down there.
So here again, different mallets, different sounds. And getting a lot more of the undertones with this. This down here is actually a standing bowl. People would stand in it.
Oh, stand in it.
Yeah, you're welcome to, actually. It might not be too tall. If you'd like to stand in it.
Oh. Okay, I'm going to stand in the standing bowl, and then I'm going to describe what this experience is once we get the sound going. Okay. So it's a large bowl, big enough to stand in. That is amazing. I can feel that come through my feet, and it goes up through my whole body. I can feel it through the top of my head even.
Yeah, this is so I bring this to trade shows, and this is kind of like my gateway drug into sound baths. Like people who, look at my table with a puzzled face, I invite them to take their shoes off, step in here, and and then it's just kind of all over for them because if nothing else, it's presence. It invites people to really look at what's going on inside of them. What parts are they noticing inside of them, wiggling, vibrating? What are they feeling? And I think it's just honestly kind of startling for a lot of people. I can almost watch them get hit with this sensation like, oh, like I don't check in very often. And this is inviting me, almost forcing me to check in. We're in the middle of a busy trade show with 100 people walking around, but people, I say transported because for 45 seconds, they're not in that trade show. They're somewhere inside. And so it's very startling, and it has drawn a lot of people to try out sound baths.
Interesting. So sound bath. So I stepped in with my shoes on. That was an amazing experience. So you just said barefoot. I would definitely understand that as the way to do it. But you made a really interesting point of how this having the sound touching your body like that brings you into your body, brings you into that. It just forces you into that inner awareness.
Yes. Yeah, you can't help it, particularly in this bowl. And so what I do at trade shows is I invite people to step in there, and then while they're having that experience, I walk around them with those waves, and I hit them with the wave frequency on top of that, which is very soothing. Those are very nice tones. And this is a bit very grounding, but it can be a little bit more jarring. And so it's a great combination, and it really just sucks people into themselves for a moment, and it's really fun to witness.
and I'm sure unexpected for the people who are doing it for the first time.
For most people, yeah, absolutely. A lot, especially a lot of men. They're not taking a lot of time for these sorts of things, and so, but they have great experiences.
Right. So I mean, explaining it to someone, I mean, anyone could go like, yeah, maybe, I'll think about it, whatever. But once you have that experience, then suddenly something wakes up, something different happens.
Yeah, and that's been a part of the journey for me is, in the very beginning, having good experiences myself and then witnessing other people have great experiences. It's like you want to run out and shout this from a rooftop, but you're not speaking a language that people really understand, and it really tends to be something that they have to experience in one way, shape, or form. And then once they do, they can be really hooked. But I spent a lot of time trying to drag people in here, and that's just not the way to do it. The way to do it is to sneak up on them at a trade show, have them step into a bowl with a little bit of curiosity, and then go from there. So
now just talking about just the the physicality of it. This is just sound, right? It's just, I'm just feeling vibrations. I'm just wondering, how does it? I mean, somehow, like you were saying earlier, like the gongs, like they use them in the horror movies. I mean, they elicit a reaction, an emotion. I mean, they stir things in us, and I'm wondering. To me, it's a curiosity how people feel healed. What sort of process does it stimulate? And I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the expectation or the setting that you're making here. This quiet, dark cave, those kind of things in a mental state. But what would you have to say about that? I'm curious about the healing aspect. How the sound sort of helps that happen.
I'm just going to have to go with, I think it can trigger some sort of a release. I think that sometimes that release is triggered emotionally through the sound, and sometimes it's triggered physically through the vibration. But I think that it is in one way or another bringing people to something that has likely been inside of them, looking to be seen or looking to get out or something. I don't have a great. I haven't figured that one out completely, like how and why this all works. I've had people tell me that their arthritis has gone away for a couple of weeks after a sound bath. And so it's hard to know, like what is the exact mechanism for that. And there's virtually no studying being done in this realm. Rife technology came out decades and decades ago, but we don't really do anything with that. And you could essentially do all of this with a single machine, just zip out frequencies into a room, and so I don't know if it's the actual frequency. I don't know if it's the musicality of it. I don't know if it's the holding space, or if it's honestly probably just a combination of all of it that's letting people release different things.
So I was I saw. I mean, scrolling and looking at stuff online, and then I saw something about sound. I was looking. I think I was looking for a speaker for my TV or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so then it was. This ad was talking about the difference between sound and actual frequency. I mean, right? That there's a difference between hearing something over a speaker and then hearing something that is creating vibrations in the air from a source. I mean, is that something that you think about?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of figuring this out as we go in this conversation. But if just a moment speaking to the emotional aspect of the sound, I think that is why we can sometimes watch a YouTube and still experience something from a sound bath on YouTube. Mm-hmm. But I do think that there is a physical aspect to this where the actual vibration does do something different. There are people who definitely prefer to be laying as close to me in the bowls as possible when they come to sound baths. They love the feeling of that stuff. They want to be laying right behind my biggest gong. They love the vibration of those things, and that's where they feel that cleansing. Other people, I think, care less about where they are and are just kind of settling into a place of relaxation, and it's not necessarily the highest vibration space out there. It's just where they feel comfortable. And so it's so different for everyone. It's like, I can just even think about my regulars that come, and they come for such different reasons, and they experience sound baths so differently, and so it's really fascinating. We're starting to it's becoming a bit more mainstream, and so we really are attracting just like a wide swath of people, and we try to keep our sound baths here particularly, like anyone is welcome, and there's nothing like in your face, we don't do, there's not a lot of, we're not heavy into the spirituality or meditation. My wife will oftentimes put out some sort of a prompt if people want to journal or write something down and burn it. She might lay out some oracle cards or something, but we're not really directing people there. We don't really, talk about it. It's just kind of there for those who want it and then not for those who don't. And I think that being inviting like that has been really helpful for a lot of people to kind of dip their toes into these arenas.
Excellent. And so people can just come and experience the sound. You're not asking them to believe anything about it, but just enjoy the experience and take what you get and that it's almost always wonderful, I guess, right?
I would have to know something in order to ask them to believe something. And I just am still figuring this out so much that, I just, people that are open to it, they should come and give it a go because, it's been really helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah, so it's a very open-ended experience. But the main thing that I can, gather from this is that, and we spoke about it earlier on the path down here, is that it's directing people inward.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think that is very important in our life these days because we have so many things that pull our attention out of us, and that so many people talk about how, they're not really feeling connected with their body but me personally, I feel like that. And that getting that interconnection going helps with all of our perceptions. And I think that there's a lot of healing and helping in that just by bringing about that balance of getting people to pay attention to their inner life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's honestly something that most of us completely miss for huge swaths of our life. We have other focuses, family, career, ourselves, mental, whatever it is, sickness. And so, whatever invites us into that space, it's like turning on a radio to a whole new station that is full of incredible information that's been waiting for people. And so it's nice.
And the other thing that I like about this is that there's a variety. I mean, because you're going to this is a live performance when you come in here and do things. So it's there's improvisation every time, right? So there's there's a little bit of Matt in every sound bath. Yep. And but what I like about that is that that creative aspect that you're putting into it, that sort of maybe it communicates something soul to soul, inadvertently, that so that somebody who's listening to this or experiencing it can maybe they're not just listening to the creek, but now they're listening to maybe there's some intelligence behind it, and maybe it's speaking to something inside that resonates with that. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah, we're just creating. I think that we're just creating optimal space is what we're trying to do. You went to the sound bath at the EES at Soul House Energy. And when I play there, I can feel it. I can feel when I play there, I feel like I'm playing here, or I feel like I'm playing outside. And these are environments that are very comfortable to me, and they're full of nature, and they're full of elements that feel very supportive to me. And that's not generally how I feel when I'm playing, in the middle of Chico or just somewhere where I'm not all that familiar. But I feel the bubble of that place. And I think that that's kind of like what we're creating here or anywhere else, is just these just really pure bubbles where people can have access to these other thought streams.
It's like the ancient idea of a sacred space.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I go and find mine in Chico at Bill's every week, and I'm happy to be that for other people. So
very, 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 very excellent. Well, Matt, this has been an amazing experience. I'm so glad that you agreed to do this with me and invited me down to your cave and gave me this demonstration of everything that you do here. And I've got to say, so what is your website is
healingvibrationsbymatt.com.
Okay, and I'm going to have a link in the program notes on this podcast so that somebody can just, click on that and go straight to it and see what you're about. And if they're in the area, maybe they can come down and make an appointment to come and experience this in person, because I got to tell you, this is if you haven't done something like this before, this is far better, far more, visceral and fascinating than I even expected. So thank you again, Matt, for doing this. And now, that is all for this episode of Audible River. We greatly appreciate our listeners all over the world, and wherever you are on this wonderful planet, we'd love to know what you think about our podcast. So please email us at audibleriverpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.